Hello and welcome to short highlights of the penultimate stage of this year's Santos Tour Down Under with me, Jez Cox. We were back to the coastline, back to the sea, the beautiful blue sea and the sandy beaches. Riders signing on and enjoying the late morning and an expected sprint finish upcoming. Caleb Ewan and others knew this was their last chance probably in this race before we go to the Mount Lofty stage tomorrow to stick their elbows out and make the fast legs tell. Of course though, what they would have to contend with also is the wind. This is the Willunga stage, and although we weren't taking in Willunga Hill proper as it has been the last few editions of this race, we were taking in a very fast and open circuit that would be affected by those coastal winds and the rise up to the finish on lower Willunga Hill, which actually still was quite some drag to the finish. These were the live pictures of the riders signing on and getting started at just about 11:30 in the morning, and rolling out for a big loop that took them all the way northeastward towards Blewett Springs. Constantly attacking from the off was Jonas Rutsch, the German for EF Education Easy Post. He tried 3 times. Eventually it worked, and he went clear with a very strong rider, Daryl Impey, former double winner of this race, of course. They went through the finish line, which actually was a mountains point the first time, and took the points there. It was Jonas Rutsch who rode through, with Daryl Impey just behind him. Behind them, Mikel Honoré, who was looking after the Mountains jersey for our overall race leader, Jay Vine, took off and took another point, edging closer to making that jersey his very own, the white jersey with the green dots. Once through there, the wind really started to show itself, and it split the peloton in half. Not quite half, sort of 2/3 and 1/3, I guess you'd call it. But that shot there is what we would see literally for the rest of the race. They never quite closed it. So close, always somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute or so, the gap between our front group and second group, but they never came back. There was a nasty crash for Taj Jones, right in the middle there, and one of the Astana riders as well. 1 or 2 others bulked just behind it. Thankfully, that was the only real crash action that we saw all day in what has been a relatively crashy week so far, a nervous start to the Men's World Tour. Taj Jones having the full concussion protocol testing, which is, of course, absolutely right. Big crowd down by the beach at Snapper Point for the next of our sprint points, and it was taken out, of course, by our 2 leaders. Behind, though, Michael Matthews getting the 1 bonus second and the 1 point in that blue jersey sprints competition too. Luke Durbridge and the Australian team of Michael Matthews, Team Jaco Alula, did a lot of work at the front just to make sure they maintain that gap and keep the likes of Phil Bauhaus and Caden Groves in that second group behind, the 2 fast men, knowing they were missing out. Next time up to the line, it was the King of the Mountains point, and this time Mikel Honoré of EF Education Easy Post made sure he took maximum points there, and in doing so made that Mountains jersey his own over Jay Vine by just 1 point. After them, we really were starting to think much more about the finish. We had 1 more sprint point back at Snapper Point, though, and the general classification riders not quite getting involved in this because it was actually Hugo Page, who is high on general classification, taking the 3 bonus seconds there and moving himself up quite well on general classification to be back where he was at the start of this race after a brilliant prologue by Hugo Page as well. The eyes were focused on Caleb Ewan, who was right in the middle of that group. Where they should have been looking, though, was a little further up, because there was a Frenchman in the colours of Cofidis who was perfectly positioned round the final left-hander to bring them to the finish line in Willunga Township. And that Frenchman was Brion Coquard. He waited until there was a little bit of a switching going on at the front, and as soon as it happened, watch for the white sleeves, the red top of Brion Coquard, to go now. He actually had Michael Matthews on his wheel, but Matthews could do nothing about the snappy acceleration of Brion Coquard, and look at that speed. He'd gone, the Frenchman had gone. Behind him, Emils Leifens was surfing the top tube after he pulled his foot out, being balked by Alberto Bettiol, and look at that on the line. Pretty much a gap there between himself and the others. Brion Coquard has been a pro for 10 years, and it's taken him 10 years to get a victory at this level in the World Tour. He was understandably emotional at the finishes too. What a great day for the French. Coquard the winner, Hugo Page 3rd, Paul Penouet in 4th, and 4 Frenchmen in the top 10. What a great day for them. This uphill finish obviously suiting Coquard down to the ground. He knew it. He had a big lead out from his team too. Alexis Reynard did an awful lot to get him into position into that final corner. But of course, Coquard had to finish off. And look at the gap back to Bettiol and the others in the end. Great ride by Bettiol, it has to be said too. But this was Brion Coquard's day. 10 years in the making, and the biggest win of his career. On the podium, he was delighted, and as I say, Quite emotional, really, I think, as it all sunk in. David Mackenzie giving him the big build-up on the podium, and rightly so. A great day for the Frenchman, richly earned in the years of sprinting. There's the general classification. Going into the final stage, the Mount Lofty stage, Jay Vine is still leading, but by 15 seconds over 2 riders just behind him. Can he hang on to the ochre jersey tomorrow over the 5 ascents of Mount Lofty? Be sure to join us, because it's been a brilliant return to the Santos Tour Down Under, and it all comes to a conclusion tomorrow. Don't forget, of course, you can catch live or on-demand coverage of every stage on GCN Plus and Eurosport, although some territory restrictions do apply.